All right, welcome back to episode 33 of the 20 Page Book Club. Today's episode, we have a lot to cover. First, going over our weekend recap. Uh, got some stuff to share on my trip to Europe. Some other guys got. God, don't scare me like that. We got a weekend recap. Then we finished up Indifferent Stars Above, talking through chapters 12 through the end. We then give our final scores and our final thoughts in the book. Look through the pictures as Kevin does his picture book,
Woo!
and then
Hottie!
we do a snake draft. It should be one of the funnier ones, given the categories for today. And then we talk about our next book, which is going to be The Wager by David Grann. So got a lot to cover. So let's go. All right, welcome back. Episode 33, the 20 Pages Book Club. Before we get into the Indifferent Stars Above, why don't we do a quick weekend recap? Tyler, start us off. How
Oh,
was your past week?
it was St. Patrick's Day, so I went out with Brandon in the morning. We made it. I made it to like 4 o'clock, and then I called it quits, which I count as a success. Uh,
Last long there.
yeah, it lasts long without anything aiding me on my journey. So a natural
Oh,
4 o'clock.
cigarettes. I
Cigarette.
saw some. Ham was sending me some snaps of you and him smoking cigs outside.
Did he?
Yeah, he's calling you.
Okay.
He's like me and Big T.
Yeah, I went. Yeah, me and Ham. I don't know. We had a bonding moment out there, but it's okay. Uh, but yeah, I went home after that. It was a successful St. Patrick's Day. Watched some Big Ten tournament play. Nothing too eventful. Kevin?
Was in Des Moines for my half marathon. Missed my goal by 50 seconds. Devastating. Uh, then we went out at night. Horrible decision going out after doing that to my body. Was out till like 1:30 a.m. at a karaoke bar, just singing my heart out.
No
Woke up,
nap in between.
tried to nap. Body was running like a low grade fever. Honestly, like I was so cold but so warm at the same time, and then never never fell asleep. And then Wisconsin Purdue started happening, and I was like, well, I got to watch that. So I just got up and never went back to sleep. Uh, Woke up Sunday morning in a world of pain. Quads were on fire, head was on fire. Nothing. I don't think a single organ or limb in my body felt that great. But and then yeah, now we're here. I'm still in the pain cave a little, but
You were doing the hypothermia.
yeah, just flip flopping. I was
When's the
overheating.
marathon? September.
Yeah, September. So I've got a little bit before I really start my training, but I'm gonna get
Are
like
you taking time off then?
not really. I'm not gonna do anything like strenuous right now. Not like a structured training plan, but I'm gonna try to keep the level I'm at because otherwise it's gonna be hell trying to regain everything. So I'm gonna get a real coach and then hopefully do like a 16-week plan. So my roommate Max dusted me. He got like a 128 something. He just took off on me.
Well, I mean, like 3 minutes is not that much, right?
I mean,
I
till
guess
it's
like it's a half a mile quicker technically.
yeah.
Did he kick it into gear like at the end? Like were you guys with each other?
Yeah, on like mile 9. Well, my dumbass friends missed missed us at mile 4, and they were supposed to give us salt water, and then and my gel. I only had 1 gel, and I didn't get my second one.
Um, Damn.
I got a second one, but it was at mile 9, and I wanted it earlier, but, um, yeah, it was shambles. They missed it. They didn't think ahead and, like, leave right after we started. They thought it would take us a while to get to 4 miles, and it just didn't, and then yeah. So,
Was it pretty flat or is it hilly in
yeah,
between?
it was flat. And then they put the 5K there were a bunch of 5K walkers in the last mile and a half, and me and this woman were just dodging these 5K walkers, just
Oh,
screaming at the
just
top
blaming
of
on
our
that.
lungs. We're just like, "Fucking your life." We just kept both her and I are just screaming. But, yeah, it was a cool environment, And then, all right, Brazil. It was a cool environment. We had a ton of guys run, so
Pause.
a lot of. My buddy got second in our age group, and I got fourth, so it was good. What
Who's
about
your
you,
buddy?
Max?
Oh.
Yeah, he's just a stallion. Except Meg the Stallion, he's Max the Stallion. His laugh gave
He's,
him.
he's got the he's definitely got the running body type.
Yeah.
The running body yaddy 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 yaddy.
Amen.
Like Megan the
Right.
Stallion.
That was
Right.
good.
Thanks.
All right. How about you, Christian?
Yeah. I think I texted you at like 8:30 in the morning and I was like, yeah, you woke up to run a half marathon and I'm awake to drink. So that was well, okay, so Friday I went to jiu-jitsu open mat. That was fun. And then Saturday drank from 8 to 5. That was less fun than jiu-jitsu. And then Sunday went to
How's the
jiu-jitsu
bar
open
crawl?
mat again. It was good. It was good. We went to like 3 bars. We went to Old Crow Sports Corner and Murphy's. I think Murphy's is the coolest out of the 3. It was just like so Kylie's friends were in town from Nebraska and I think like the Wrigleyville St. Patrick's Day bar crawl is somewhat of a tourist like out of town trap. Like if people are coming in from out of town, they're wanting to go to the Wrigleyville bar crawl. So it was just a lot of people and like at this point in my life, I'm not really like all that thrilled with waking up at 8:30 in the morning and drinking anymore. Um but like every once in a while it's fine. I had a fun day. But
Be careful what you
probably
say.
not gonna
I
do
refuse to
like
do another Wrigley
for
bar
a while.
crawl ever again. I'm putting my foot
Yeah.
down. I
And like it, I like economically as a
it's
consumer,
a rip
like
off.
it goes against everything that I stand for. Like you pay money. I actually never Venmoed for the wristband, so I didn't pay money. But regardless, you go and you pay full price for the
Scammer
Good
gets
thing only
drink.
good thing only 6 people watch this, so you're not gonna get ratted out.
scammer gets scammed.
Yeah, I don't know. It was good. Aaron, you're up.
Yeah, so I think last meeting I mentioned that I was in Europe for a trip with my girlfriend. So I'll quickly recap that. Uh, I was in Slovenia, a couple towns in Italy, and then Istanbul. I'm sure the most interesting part was for the book club would be my time in Istanbul, since we talked about our book 1453. Some really cool things there. Some cool artifacts from Mehmet the Conqueror, actually, at the palace, which is like kind of like a museum. It's like actual robes that he wore from 1453, which is crazy. His sword. I'll send some pictures in the group chat later for you guys, but some really cool artifacts in that. And then obviously the Blue Mosque in Hagia Sophia. I don't think the Blue Mosque is actually in the 1453 book that we read, but Hagia Sophia is the grand uh, cathedral, or not. I guess it was a Roman church, and now obviously it was converted into a mosque. But really cool, lots of cool history in Istanbul. Would definitely recommend visiting at some point. But yeah, that was my trip. Great to get some time off from work. Tyler, question.
Did you expense this trip on the 20 pages credit card?
Considering we don't have a credit card, yes, I
Okay.
use my personal card
Got it.
and some credit card miles.
Kevin's hand looks so weird like that.
Yeah, Kevin, is that like a puppet hand?
You got a call on him.
Yeah, Kevin.
Actually, like I had something that I forgot because Tyler asked his question.
Damn.
Oh yeah, there's no way that robe is real, right?
The what?
The robe from 1453.
I swear to God, they have it in like a glass container. It was like one
Why
of
wouldn't
his
that be real?
shirts. Like so, it's called like
There's no.
the Topaki Palace. The craziest thing I actually saw there though was there was like a skeleton in this like armored thing from the Byzantine Empire in the 11th century. It was crazy, and it was like the skeleton, and it was like encasted in this like armor. It was crazy, like that. They found that artifact. It was some crazy stuff there. Ariana wasn't as interested in I was, but I was kind of like I was also doing the thing where like you mansplain based on like
Classic.
bookers. So I was like, the Byzantines. This was once controlled by the Byzantines, and
This guy had launched the first cannon.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like
Otto.
things like that. And she was like, I could tell like she wasn't like didn't give too about what I was saying, but I felt smart for once, so that was kind of cool.
Was Antonio Rizzo there in attendance?
Too bad they didn't have his gaping ass, where he got staked.
Like a skeleton with the pole through the mud.
No, but actually, I might have to revise my score for 1453 because after seeing it in person, I have to admit it, I might give it a couple brownie points.
Big brownie.
I could live through 1453 and I probably wouldn't revise that score.
Well, if you lived through it, you probably give it a 2.
Yeah, if you live.
That's true, it'd be worse.
No, yeah, but saw like Galata Tower, went to the Galata side, saw the stuff like that. So super cool to see. I actually remembered stuff from the book. But yeah, that was my trip.
So did they base this all on the book?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll answer for him.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Real life
It's like
story.
Harry Potter world.
Which was based on Game of Thrones. So
Yeah.
realistically, it was just a big Game of Thrones castle. It was like Universal Studios for Game of Thrones.
Okay. Gotcha.
If that helps, yeah,
Nice.
that should help you visualize what was going on.
All right.
Yeah.
Seems like a good point to transition.
Yeah. So now Indifferent Stars Above, our third part of this. So we will go from chapters 12 to the end. Tyler, take us away.
All right, chapter 12. We just got back. In the last chapter, the first group had reached freedom, I'll call it, Johnson Ranch, and now we are still wondering about the future for the remaining campers. So we'll see where it picks up. All right, chapter 12, Hope and Despair. News of the new travelers spread like wildfire among the new western frontier. The Sutter camp immediately worked to help provide resources in tandem with George Tucker and William Ritchie. For Sarah, she was forced to contemplate a world where her two financial structures had disappeared within the past 2 weeks. By many standards, she was all alone. As they awaited help, Elizabeth Graves and Margaret Reed cared for the children as best they could. On January 30th, the relationship took a turn. Elizabeth seized the cowhides that Margaret had been keeping on her side of the cabin, only offering to return them if she was immediately paid back for the ox. Recovery efforts for the food proved to be failures. A cabin away, 17-year-old John Landrum passed away. He was the 14th member to die, all of them so far male. On February 4th, the first rescue party emerged from Johnson Ranch. Reason Tucker and Aquila Glover led the expedition. It would later be named the First Relief. The crew also consisted of Colonel Matthew D. Ritchie and George Tucker. From the snowshoe party, only William Eddy joins. William Eddy immediately back on the trail. They were greeted with torrential downfall and horrible conditions. By February 9th, William Eddy was forced to retreat. What he didn't know was that his 1-year-old daughter, Margaret, and his wife, Eleanor, were already dead, their bodies sitting outside their cabin. 3 other members had also fallen during this time. For the first relief, the group carried up the mountain. By February 14th, only 9 members of the party carried forward. By February 17th, they were within walking distance of the cabins. The following day, they approached the camp. The people were entrapped deep into their cabins, coming out slowly, ripe with famine. The first to greet the travelers was Levany. How are we saying we're pronouncing that? Levany?
Lavina.
Lavina.
Lavina? Yeah, Lavina Murphy, who had just witnessed 4 people die in her cabin over the last couple of days. After dishing out portions, Tucker now approached the Graves cabin. The children and Elizabeth came out, asking for news of their relatives. Tucker didn't have the heart, and Elizabeth caught the drift. Tucker approached Alder Creek. Here, he found a very desolate scene, furthermore presenting a tough choice to the group. He didn't have enough supplies to keep everyone here. He needed those able to travel. This presented a hard choice to Elizabeth Donner, who had to part ways with some of her children. sticking to stay behind with George, who was bedridden. The other families made similar choices, including the Graves. With that, Tucker departed with the traveling group on February 22nd. Quickly, it became apparent that the group was not built for tough travel. The majority of the kids had to be carried, well, except for James Reed Jr., who walked through his height in snow, determined to save his sisters. On February 23rd, they encountered a terrible sight. The caches they had left behind had been pillaged by small animals. Given this, everyone was given ration limits. The following day, John Denton could carry on no further. He was found several weeks later, half-eaten. That night, a child joined him in the afterlife. Despite the bad news, the party did receive hope the following day. A second traveling group encountered the group and fed them, announcing James Reed was leading a second expedition quickly behind them. So, while he was gone, James Reed went on a side quest of the ages. He first tried to lead a rescue effort that failed to... Wait, what? Something got deleted here. Okay, well, all right. While he was gone,
read it as is.
James Reed went on a side quest of the ages. He first tried to lead a rescue effort that failed. What's this?
Jesus.
No, it's just there's missing a sentence.
Tyler was drinking.
Something got deleted.
Did you just have St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah. While he was gone, James
First
Reed
tried to lead a rescue effort that failed to all the able-bodied men fighting the men.
There's something got deleted in here. Anyways, James Reed went on to first tried to rescue them. Then he went and joined the army. He enlisted himself, leading a battalion. From there, he rode to San Francisco, begging the Navy for resources to help lead rescue effort. They agreed, opting to supply logistical support. William McCutcheon was also gathering resources. They rendezvoused on February 19th. In this, William and Reed launched the second relief party. On February 27th, Reed found 3 members of his family, spending minutes with them upon learning the younger children had been left at camp, determined to save them all. However, he was delighted to be reunited with at least a part of them. 48 hours later, James Reed and the second relief party entered the camp. The relief party stopped at the Murphy cabin, where a foul stench was escaping from the cabin. A ragtag group of survivors crawled out. In the cabin, they found evidence of half-decayed humans. He announced that on March 2nd, the next party would depart. When they approached the Donner cabin, it was clear that the adults were near death. The children still seemed to carry on. As they later learned, the adults were likely cooking human meat for them, unable to consume it themselves. Once again, the party departed, leaving behind the weak. For this party, it must have seemed as if the savior had come. What they didn't realize, things were about to get worse. All right, Kevin, picture book. Let's go over the pictures and then we can talk over the chat.
All right. Flip to everybody flip to page 210 and follow along as I go through the pictures here. On the first couple pages, we see the Graves starting 5. Also, if you notice, half of these photos are just undated photographs.
These are paintings, I think. Are they not?
Yeah, they are.
It says undated photographs.
There's no way this is a picture. I'm sorry.
That's just paintings, man. Just
What's a photograph then?
they're just scanned
I don't
photos.
think they had.
They've just been photo scanned onto the pages.
They all say.
Oh, I see.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was
I don't
assuming
know about that.
I was assuming they were using the Babel silver match pair for picture back in the day there, but
Whoever drew my boy Charles Stanton did him dirty. That nose. That
yeah,
pecker.
Charles Stanton shouldn't have got a side profile shot. Probably
Let's
should.
look it up. When's the invention of the camera?
I looked this
I don't
up in
think
another
Babel.
book.
I don't think Babel happened until right after this.
1816,
Should use a match pair. What the heck were they doing out there?
Idiots.
1839, something like that. I don't know.
They had match pairs for wagons. Make them run on their own.
Yeah.
Amen. Then we
London had all the silver.
got James and Margaret Reed at the bottom. James, I don't know if I think Tyler said somebody said he's a Cheeto Vera lookalike, which it is. It's kind of scary. Then we've got Chimney Rock in Nebraska. Shout out Brazel.
Worst attraction to ever exist.
Worse than Scotts Bluff.
Maybe. Actually, yeah, maybe that's true.
Then we've got some wagon ruts. Pretty interesting stuff. Seeing some wagon ruts on a road. It's crazy.
Why does like
It's a beautiful,
he couldn't
it's a beautiful road.
wonder if it was just
What?
more expensive to print that in color. Like, why does it have to be black and white?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Looking at the Donner Lake one, I was actually kind of blown away. Like, I don't think it really processed in my head that they were scaling literal mountain ranges during all this.
What did you
Like,
think
I
they were
just
scaling?
Off.
my head in my head, like maybe like a few cliffs or something.
The sledding hill at North.
I thought they were struggling through like
Dude thought they were on Villa Olivia.
Yeah.
Then we get a nice picture of a boulder. There's a caption, but I don't feel like reading it.
cabin they built
More.
by the builder. Yeah, got it.
Thanks. Donner Pass. That looks treacherous to have to hike. That looks pretty tough. A few more
Put a
pictures.
couple
of-
ski lifts up in those mountains.
yes.
It said
Sorry.
they have the most precious land that they're in the Lake Tahoe area. They could have been rich.
And then on the last page, we've got an illustration of Franklin Graves dying.
I would say.
Dying in a snowstorm. That's the caption for it.
That does not look like a man dying.
It's a pretty realistic drawing to me.
Basically a skeleton when he died.
Yeah.
These Kesselberg, John Wilkes Booth.
I don't remember what John Wilkes Booth looks like, if I'm being honest.
I just looked him up. He kind of he's got a little bit more hair on his head, but kind of could see it.
Maybe we need to read an Abraham Lincoln book. Maybe that's or Civil War. Maybe that's what we need to do. All right. Thanks, Kevin. Always wonderful when you take us through your Kevin's picture book. Always a great time. All right. Chapter 13. We ultimately decided it was best to move on. Apparently that chapter is cursed. I'm moving in slow motion. We're just gonna hope everything stays up. On that. So, all right, heroes and scoundrels. All right. On March 3rd, James Reed approached Louis Kesenberg's shanty. At the last meeting, Kesenberg had been.
I got a question. I got a question. Did James Reed have the biggest side quest ever?
Uh-oh.
Kesenberg.
Is he frozen again?
Do I just gotta leave? Like what are we doing?
He's frozen. It's freezing.
You're moving at about 2 frames per minute.
I don't know what you want me to do.
Oh my god. I'm watching like Tron.
I may just leave. I may just have to call it quit for the night.
No, just go into Christian's room.
Share the mic.
Well,
Yeah, just go into Christian's room. Oh, okay, you're back. All right, try again.
You look like the pictures from the book. You were black and white.
You just showed up in black and white.
all right, you guys gotta stop. I'm not gonna be able to read any chapter
done.
summary if you guys keep doing this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
You were moving. You like weren't. It
You
looks
weren't-
really weird.
You weren't synced up, so I asked the question.
Okay, I mean, you guys are gonna kill me. I'm gonna be here for 3 hours if you guys keep up like this.
All right, we're ready.
Well,
All right, chapter 13: Heroes and Scoundrels. On March 3rd, James Reed approached Louis Kesenberg's shanty. At the last meeting, Kesenberg had been petitioning for the group to hang Reed. Reed, now clothed, washed, and fed Kesenberg. What do you guys do? I'm done. I'm quitting. I'm done. I'm done. Chapter 13: Heroes and Scoundrels. On March 3rd, James Reed approached Louis Kesenberg's shanty. At the last meeting, Kesenberg had been partitioning for the group to hang Reed. Reed, now clothed, washed, and fed Kesenberg, promising to return for him. With task done, the second relief party left the summit, 3 adults and 14 children in tow. Many of the children were carried by the men, fearing that their coins would be taken paired with the burden that they were causing. Well, I just skipped something. With tasks done, the second relief party left for the summit, 3 adults and 14 children in tow, many of the children carried by the men. Fearing that her coins would be taken, paired with the burden that they were causing physically, Elizabeth dug into the ground and hid them. By March 5th, they were making slow progress, but arrived at the first cache. Here, they camped out, greeted by a night snowfall. Historians debate on whether the weather was exceptionally bad that year, however, most suggest that it was nothing unusual. However, the cold weather likely resulted in high snow accumulation, making travel difficult. As such were the conditions in early March. Quickly, the situation at their encampment was growing dire. In the morning, the first casualty was discovered. The following day presented no opportunities at escape, and by nightfall, temperatures rapidly dropped. Elizabeth Graves was the next victim, cold to the touch. The oldest remaining graves on the mountain was 8. By March 7th, the snow was mostly over. James Reed and McCutcheon walked with the Reed kids and Solomon Hook for supplies, leaving behind what would be later known as the Starving Camp. Meanwhile, the first relief party arrived at Johnson Ranch, trading facts with the previous traveling group. Back at the original camps, Charles, Caddy, and Stone reconsidered their promise to stay. In a desperate plea, Tamzine Donner persuaded them to take more of her children with them in exchange for $500. They agreed, but after a blizzard, they simply left the kids at the Murphy cabin and carried on themselves. Soon enough, they encountered the Starving Camp. After a slight look, they decided to carry on, not offering any help. Soon enough, they passed Selim Woodsworth and the third relief party, joined by William, Eddy, and Foster. Soon enough, it became clear that Woodsworth's men weren't motivated. It took government funds and personal financing from the survivors to convince some of them to go. This included Charles Stone, who probably felt left guilty. With the group assembled, they set out for the survivors. However, at the original camps, more people were dying, including George Forster, who Louis Kesenberg hung on the wall like a piece of meat. Finally, at Starving Camp, the group sat anxiously. Patrick Breen had largely given up. Meanwhile, Peggy took it upon the task of caring for the large group of children. Finally, Mary Donner suggested a solution. Soon enough, the whole party was eating Elizabeth Graves, even her children. This is how they were discovered on March 12th. The author uses this as an opportunity to present the idea of PTSD and how many members would become plagued by their traumatic experiences. Due to the small relief party, the group decided to split. Some of the members took to carrying those back to camp. Meanwhile, others carried on to Lake Camp. Those travelers would be Eddy, Foster, Miller, and Thompson. The group arrived at Lake Camp several days later. There, they stumbled into Louis Kesenberg and a few surviving children. In there, Lewis admitted the kids of Eddy and Foster had died and had been eaten. Despite their griefs and threats to kill Lewis, they decided to take another party towards rescue, leaving behind only 4 members, George and Tamzine Donner, Louis Kesenberg, and leave. How do we say this? like I get it.
Christian knew, I didn't know. Lavina?
Lavina?
Lav-
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Lavina Murphy. I don't know why I can't pronounce that. Soon enough, the relief party made its way into camp with news, and while spring was approaching, the ranch was filled with grieving parties. All right, that is the end of part 3. I would say this part was all about cannibalism in some efforts. There was, I guess, one interesting topic. William Eddy stumbles into camp on a rescue mission, and he gets there and the news that his entire family is dead, and Louis Kessenberg is sitting there, probably with a mouth dripping with blood, and admits to eating his children, which it's also kind of inferred that he was the one maybe killing people. Is that what you guys took away?
I think the book
Yeah.
says
Yeah.
Lewis was kind of an ass.
Oh, if it's an ass, I think he was so desperate to live that he resorted to the most violent things of the group.
Well, even in the last chapter, the way that the author describes him, it was like, what did they say about him? Oh, it was something like,
Oh, well, I said Louis Kesselberg for most depressing life because he died. All his children died before him. Predeceased him was the word that the author used, which I didn't even know was a word. And then he died childless, friendless in a charity home.
yeah.
Yeah.
It says, and then it says Kessenberg Kesselberg was publicly and privately re- reviled as a voluntary cannibal and likely murderer as well from the time he arrived in California.
Well,
Yeah, he's kind of just jumped the gun on eating people. Like he didn't really wait till it was necessary. He just
Maybe he was already in his diet beforehand.
just went for it.
Yeah, it's the book basically tells you that he was the one likely killing the people. I mean, it's tough. I don't know. Like if he's just eating people that are already deceased, I don't want to say it's okay, but like it's more understandable. But if he was actually participating in killing someone for the source of food, then
It's kind of
Yeah.
got that look.
so
Yeah,
he's
he's
got
got-
John Wilkes Booth, serial killer.
Yeah, yeah.
something else I found interesting in this was when Elizabeth dug and put all her coins in the ground. Was there not like something like, 'cause-
Motor moron move there, in my opinion.
yeah, like either
Not gonna lie.
pay somebody to help you transfer, like to carry it for you, or like I feel like there had to have been some other way to.
Give it to the children.
I think it's fair to say she wasn't probably thinking at her highest level at that point.
She couldn't at least like knowledge share and be like write it down where she put it.
Yeah, guys,
Give it
the
to her.
whole family wealth is just gonna be buried under some rock in the middle of the Sierras. Good luck.
Yeah, that
Also, like, were they bougie back then? Because like, you're telling me they couldn't carry like how much of silver are we talking about here? Like, I'm just picturing like a sack of like maybe weighs like a pound. Like, the way they made it sound was like they've got like 20 pounds of silver here.
I mean, but when you've probably lost 35 pounds and you're almost have you ever seen like an old grandpa try to carry something when he loses feeling in his hands? That's kind of how I imagine them.
I guess, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there was better solutions than burying the family wealth and screwing all your children.
So I sent a text that I kept saying what the said it was during this chapter because it feels like Lake Camp like resorted to nasty stuff way quicker. Not in timeline, but in desperation.
I was gonna say the first instances of cannibalism, the author like kind of led in slowly to it, and now everybody is just eating everybody.
Yeah, maybe it's the way it's written. But also I think it hit me more because like it's children actively participating in it too.
It took me like an hour to read this chapter. There was just too much like interjection and like stuff going on that I couldn't keep track, and I was like, this is kind of hard to read through.
I've felt like a motor moron like for the majority of this book. There's just
Too many characters.
there's a lot of moving pieces. Oh, I figured out why it is. I was thinking in my in my shower prior to the meeting, I was thinking about why. It's because who's our author again? Daniel James
James.
Bryant.
Yeah.
He he does everything like perfect. He talks about everything perfectly chronologically. Like he tries to make it as logical as possible. Like you're moving through time with everybody. So he jumps from person to person, group to group, how it would have happened in real life. And I don't necessarily think this is the best way to write about this for like the understanding of your readers. Like he's obviously very well studied and like um can track all the characters. I don't know if he took that into account for the readers.
I was thinking about
That's
that more.
my thought.
I was thinking about that more too. And in the last couple meetings, we talked a lot about how it's hard to relate to these characters and like grow emotional like attachment. And then I started thinking more and more, like especially during the last few chapters and then the first couple chapters in this part, like we're reading about people eating other humans, and that's pretty hard to like empathize with and like sympathize with. So
It's
like
also a good phrase.
it's very hard to feel for these people when like all these things that they're doing aren't like in our moral compass are wrong, I guess. So it's very hard to create any sort of connection to any of these people. I guess you could have a connection of like, wow, that's a bad man, like how
I
Jared has a connection with Kessenberg, like he thinks he's like, yeah, he's an asshole.
I,
So like there's that portion, I
I
guess.
go
But
back to I think it's just I mentioned in the last meeting. I think it's marketed weird. like when we read the back cover, it's like Sarah Graves, and you feel like you're gonna follow her story, but the character is the party, and I think it's just like it was such a weird thing because at parts you just felt like, okay, we're gonna follow Sarah now, we're gonna follow Sarah's story, but then it just kept going back to the party, and the party is the character itself, and I just thought it was marketed kind of weird. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
I think that's probably just because he didn't have enough source material for just Sarah, which
yeah.
I mean that makes sense, but like you said, the way he words it is that it's
It
Sarah's
literally
story.
should just been like the back should have been what it says right here, which is just the harrowing saga of the Donner Party. I mean, if it would have just been marketed like that, I think there would have been better expectations of what.
I also still don't understand the title, even after finishing the book. So
Oh, the Indifferent Stars Above. Yeah, I think when
he mentions the stars like a couple times, but like I was looking for the connection. Maybe I'm too stupid to understand it, but
authors love their metaphors and
I'll get back to you guys on that one. I'll solve the case.
okay, Kevin,
okay.
Is it
Kevin
that?
on the
Is
case.
it that
go
the?
back.
i-
Those-
i- Is it the stars feel indifferent, or like the Donner Party feels indifferent about the stars?
They became. I'll just give it to you guys now if you want. They just came. They became so used to sleeping at night with the stars above them that they became indifferent to the beautiful, to what nature has to offer us as humans. There's beautiful mountains, trees, landscapes, forests, nature, waterfalls, lakes, and
Is that what indifferent means? I thought.
I was just saying random stuff.
I think we've lost them.
Does it, does indifferent mean that you're like totally used to the thing, or does indifferent mean like
Also,
you're like
also
I
menos,
think everything is the same. I think I could be wrong though.
also menos, like
Unconcerned about the stars, no sympathy.
Oh, okay.
maybe that's it. No sympathy. We have no sympathy for the character.
It actually could mean two things. It's either no sympathy or unconcerned, or neither good nor bad, mediocre.
Well, yeah, I'll get back to you
They,
guys if you remember to ask me again.
they had no time to worry about the stars above. They were solely focused on
Eating
task
cases.
at hand. Exactly.
I need like a Matthew McConaughey like breakdown.
Or the stars above were unconcerned with them. The
Mm.
world itself, the weather. They didn't care that these humans with human feelings were below them, experiencing
that's
having to eat each other.
Mother Nature had no concern for those.
Judging by Tyler's face, I think it's time for chapter 14.
I agree.
Part 4 in the Reproof of Chance, Chapter 14, Shattered Souls. On April 13th.
I also I'm sorry that the reproof of chance, there was like a quote before this part started, and like I didn't wrap my brain around what was being said. Anyways, I shouldn't have interrupted there. You can continue.
I mean, you're gonna
Proof chance
are you gonna-
lies the true proof of men. William
Yeah.
Shakespeare.
I did like that.
But I didn't know what it was trying to say. Like the reproof, like the reconfirmation of chance lies the real
they're saying-
truth of men.
It's basically saying that there's no such thing as chance. That true things like I think that's what he's saying, right? The true character of men will always come to light. Like there's no such thing as
Maybe
luck.
maybe
is that-
I'm not maybe I'm not understanding what reproof means.
in the Reproof of Chance. Let's get a definition on the board.
I think Jared's right. Like in the reproof of chance, like you get a second chance and you're gonna like prove your innocence or something. Lies the true proof of like it's like a never ending.
One always shows their true colors at the end. Type
Yeah,
thing.
I could
Like-
see that, yeah.
almost like
I
second.
think that's me. That's my
I
guess.
see. I see.
But I don't understand how that relates to this section of the book, really. But
It's over our head.
Dude.
yeah,
I barely even passed
this is
what
AP
even was it called? Literature arts? What I don't even
Yeah.
remember what it was called.
literature.
I skipped over. All right. Chapter 14. Shattered Souls. On April 13th, the last rescue party left Johnson Ranch. It wasn't much of a rescue operation, more of a salvage sort. William Fallon led the 4th Relief, looking for valuables. William Foster headed back for his possessions, and Reese and Tucker joined him. On April 17th, they arrived at Lake Cabin. There, they were greeted by the sight of eaten away and decaying bodies with a terrible stench. At Alder Creek, they found the same. Returning to Lake Camp, they found Louis Kessenberg alive. Quickly, they found out he had been eating away at the remaining bodies, revealing he knew where the fortune was hidden. The party left with doubts about the true outcome of the Donners and the role Kessenberg played in it. Nonetheless, he rejoined them on their return trip with the gold. In retrospect, of the 87 members of the Donner Party, 47 had perished, the largest toll being the men in the group. The author explores factors presented by researchers and comes up with a variety of reasons, mostly relating to biological factors around core temperatures and caloric intakes. As survivors had to move on, they were tasked with informing their families. Painfully, they wrote those letters, most of the time failing to provide all of the details. Too brutal and fresh in their minds. For the grave, Sarah was now the head of operations. Her sister Marianne quickly married Edward Bile, one less mouth to feed, in a slightly but only marginally better situation than the Donner orphans who went around camp as beggars. Sarah, with little resources and little money, transformed into a mother. This is, I guess, where the book is like, well, here's what happened to Sarah. Clearly, it is one of those times where like you forget that like women were so reliant on a man after a certain age in their life as financial.
They were more traditional roles.
Yes, it's a good way to put it. It's such a traditional society that like it was basically a death sentence what she was put into, where she has a bunch of kids running around that she's now mother for, as their eldest sister, and she has no financial stability, and the only way to get that financial stability is to find a partner. And so Marianne finds one quickly. I guess let's talk about 87 members of the party, and then 47 perished. Is that more or less than you were expecting?
I thought more of them died, honestly, when I
Yes.
read the book. I thought there was going to be like 4 survivors, but kudos to them.
We brought up in the last meeting about the women's long distance runners, and the author kind of finally brings like some biological points into this, some research into why he may think. I mean, I guess it makes sense. They have less body weight. They have to, it takes less for their body to keep stable, and also, they don't require as much calories. So I guess it makes sense. And the kids too, obviously, easily they don't have to eat as much calories. I think there was also. Did you guys remember that section? I think there was also a part where they were talking about where mass like accumulates on a woman's body that makes it easier as well. Can't quite recall if anyone.
On the outside of like closer to the skin.
Yeah.
I don't know what that has to do. Like, I don't know what that actually means, but
I was kind of like in one ear out the other when I read that.
I was looking through his sources in the back, and man, this guy,
did too much.
there's a lot of sources.
Yeah. Also, could you imagine getting a letter and being like, "Yeah, we ate mom and dad. Made it to California though."
I think the author talks about a lot was discluded.
But I think so. Like, I think in Marianne's letter, she's like, let me read it. I think.
Yeah, I don't even know how you like integrate yourself back into society. Like after, I don't know if I'd be able to live with myself. Like after, and then just like start.
I think that's why he brought up
going-
PTSD in the last
Yeah.
chapter, because clearly it wasn't something that was known at the time in terms of a diagnosis, but clearly
was
some of
all
them had to.
That was
Yeah.
really. Go ahead, Jared. You can.
She goes, as the storm. I think this is Sarah's letter. Yeah, to her uncle and aunt. As soon as the storm ceased, we took the flesh of the bodies, what we could make do for us for 4 days, and started. I'd be
That's
like,
crazy.
I'd read
Yeah,
read that a couple
joke.
times and go,
I almost think she like was just making stuff up. Like the PTSD stuff though, that was really interesting to me. How the kids were more likely to have PTSD from that experience, and then like think about all those kids that went through that and just the rest of their lives. They're just
I know you.
Yeah,
Was it you in the
struggle.
last meeting that said you like these interjections?
yeah,
Did you find it the same
not
way in this one?
not so much towards the end.
Yeah, I thought
I
some of
didn't.
these near the end was getting. I think the body one was good because that was a question that came up on us and why the women were. That was a question throughout. So I'm glad he addressed that one. But there was some that towards the end here it was. I
It
felt
got old fast for me.
I think this whole like last part started to get very. It was, like Jared just said, it was like really fast, and then like all these like it just started popping names and what they were doing and like what they ended up doing with their lives, and it was very hard to
I
follow.
did not write a
So
summary for chapter 17. So um,
nice.
that should tell you. All right, chapter 15, Golden Hills Black Oats. Recovery wasn't easy, and some failed to recover at all. Young Elizabeth and Jonathan Graves never saw the next winter passing in the summer. Sarah and several other women relied on the charity of other families to survive. Finally, Reason Tucker convinced her to move to Napa Valley. There, many bought land from Englishmen. Dr. Edward Bale and formed a neighborhood. It contained the Tuckers, Kellogg's, and Starks. They enlisted Sarah Fosdick, or Graves, as the local school teacher. I'm just going to say Sarah Graves because that's easier to keep track of. Misfortune continued to find the Graves. Mary Ann's new husband, William Pike, was killed in a dispute over a horse. In a brutal death, he was lassoed and dragged for hundreds of feet. Then his throat was slit and he was littered with arrows. Did anyone actually played Red Dead Redemption 2? Because that's something you actually do in the game. You just lasso people and like drag them along.
No, that was I
And
was
maybe the game was based off this man's death.
It's based off the Wild West, so.
I know, I was kidding.
Meanwhile, the single women looked to gain economic freedom. In those times, that meant finding a husband. Lucky for them, the California gold rush was starting to kick off, and the men of wealth were all around. For Sarah, she set her sights on William Ritchie. They married soon after. Despite giving birth to a couple of kids and finding financial stability, some problems did arise. William had a tendency to disappear at night, and one night, he didn't return. They found out that he had stolen local livestock, intending to sell it to nearby towns. He was caught and subsequently hanged by the enraged locals. Sarah was once again a widow. That's the end of that chapter. Christian texted Louis Kesenberg for, what's that award? With
Most
Depressing
depressing
Life.
life.
Sarah Graves
Sarah.
may be the candidate from this story. just constantly.
The Graves might be cursed. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel
But on
like
the spot, I
as
think,
I
like,
was reading this, like this happened back then. Everyone just dies.
everyone was on like their third marriage, like
Yeah,
17 kids, but like a couple pass away,
maybe
pick some more.
maybe that's why there's no sympathy for this story at all, because it happens so often that I'm just like, oh, they ate
We're
it.
desensitized to it. We're like, oh,
Yeah,
he's a robber, but
it happens.
We are throwing in our snake draft later a category that is what sauce would we eat human flesh with? So maybe we are just desensitized to everything.
or
Or
seasoning if you
Seasoning.
yeah.
had.
I see seasoning as well. I one thing I did find interesting. It is interesting to think that the gold rush happened the year after all of these people died. If they just taken the right route, they would all literally be equivalent to like millionaires.
Well, a couple of them did. A couple of them
Yeah.
at the end.
It did say in the last chapter that some of them
Was rich. Someone else was rich too. I forgot.
Billy Graves or one of the younger Graves, whatever his name was.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, he brought Bill back into the mountains where they died, basically.
fun fact, I saw Shaky Graves in concert. Unrelated, but
unrelated. Maybe he is related.
Wait, oh,
nope, he's not.
I have
He made up the name.
I have a portion from this chapter that I just don't believe at all. It was when the bear was chasing the pig, and like the author talked about the pig doing like multiple laps around the yard. There's no way in hell the
Also-
pig survives from multiple laps.
Also,
The
why did
bears-
he include that into the story? Like,
Yeah, that was wild too.
like it was just like a useless paragraph. Like, okay, like the pig died. Like
He just sat there trying to get the pig back in the house.
It's
I was picturing him like running around, like trying to get it inside, and then just like
the Sarah Grave sympathy chapter. That's why.
It was a metaphor.
All right. Chapter 16, Peace. 1885 brought love to the Graves family. Several of the daughters, now old enough to marry, did so. In addition, Sarah found a new partner, Samuel Spires. With him, she would birth 4 more kids and spend the next 20 years in the valley before moving to Corralitos, I think that is, there in 1871. At age 46, she would pass. All right, so that was...
Just put up numbers.
Absolutely hilarious part to the story was when the author was talking about Samuel Spires' like sentiment of Sarah Grimm's dying, and they said it was like he saw his fresh watermelon harvest like go bad from the winter. So bad.
Can you imagine? Do you think she told them?
probably
Yeah.
kind of have to.
What would you do if a girl told you
The way to
Well, I mean,
damn, that's crazy.
Maybe there's a reason her first 2 husbands ran away.
Damn, I'm sorry you went through that.
Classic lines. I'm so sorry. I would never do that to you.
I'm glad these chapters were short because
Yeah.
I was losing my
I will say,
focus.
I will say, some of these last chapters were like, but also like the one where he's describing people is only like 3 pages, so it's like, okay,
No, that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
I'm glad they were short because I was losing my patience.
Yeah. Chapter 17,
I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna nominate 17 for.
In the Years Beyond. Chapter gives updates on all the people. It was interesting, but I don't find the need to write a summary for that. It was only a couple pages. Some got rich, some died, some just vibed along. Well, except for Hastings, who became a Confederate general. After they lost, he moved and created a Confederate colony in South Africa or South America. And then
Brazil, like yeah.
I wrote Nazi inspiration.
This guy was just a scam artist.
Yeah.
It was like it does feel like, could you imagine like maybe Hitler's hiding there? Little Nazi, maybe they migrated to Argentina from Brazil, maybe the Confederates met up with Hitler. That's a good conspiracy.
Yeah, that chapter made me want to blow my brains out. To be honest.
I didn't even know half the people that he was talking about, so it's just like yeah.
Same. Also, like
It was short though.
he
So.
he created an epilogue prior to the
Yeah.
epilogue. Like this should have just been the epilogue.
Yeah, I was
skipped it.
I was thinking that I was like, that should have been the epilogue, and the epilogue should have been an author's note.
Yeah.
I didn't read it anyway, so
Me neither. After his prologue, I was not about
that's how I said it was about bones. I was like, good thing because I wasn't reading it.
I did tell you guys not to read it.
I did read the last
I took
paragraph.
Tyler's
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah. Thank you, Tyler, because you saved me a good 10
No
minutes
problem.
on my
No
life.
problem. All right. In the epilogue, Daniel Brown goes on his own journey, retracting the path taken by Sarah Graves and the Donner Party, in part analyzing its difficulty, but also evaluating the impact they left behind, most notably the monuments and landmarks named after the Harrowing group. Ending with his belief on the story, which I'll just read this paragraph. I wrote it in here. It reminds us that as ordinary as we may be, we can, if we choose, take the harder road, walk forth bravely under the indifferent stars. We can hazard the ravages of chance. We can choose to endure what seems unendurable, and therefore, upon open up the possibility of prevailing. We can awaken to the world as it is, and seeing it with eyes wide open, we can nevertheless embrace hope rather than despair. When all is said and done, I think the story tells us that hope is the hero's domain, not the fool's, because we dare to hope, even when doing so might undo us. We leave the world we create behind us, swirling in our wakes, eternal and effervescent with the beauty of our aspirations. This is writer's porn to the max.
Good last paragraph.
But it's well written.
Did this man just tell us to take the harder road after what we just
I think that's purposeful. I think that was purposeful irony.
They didn't even choose the harder road. They just got.
No, they definitely chose the harder road.
What if he was like,
It was the easier route.
They thought it
what if
was.
it's like, what if Daniel James Brown, like in his epilogue, was like, yeah, I decided to recreate Sarah Graves and ate my wife, and
This is my confession.
yeah, and he was like, well,
Turns out, Black
turns out Ranch is really good at being the Flash.
It's on my board.
that's why Brazel told us not to read the episode. We get a free pick.
I didn't want you guys to take Ranch from me.
I don't know. I'm glad I didn't read that, but
Yeah, I
I
mean,
agree. The last paragraph was good. So
I thought the last paragraph was no. I mean, it's his what his belief on the story is, and I think it's generally true. I think, although there was some lack of sympathy, it is a harrowing tale. I mean, I would use that word to describe it. I mean, it's
Did we ever get the answer to why this was the harrowing saga of the Donner Party? Like why? I'm still so confused why it says the harrowing saga of the Donner Party, but then the whole like thing is like Sarah Graves. I still
they're all in the Donner Party
this
technically.
this is
No,
all
I know,
Donner
but
Party.
no, I know, but like why is Sarah Graves like the focal point? And
That's
then
what we were saying. That's what I was saying earlier. It's just badly marketed.
I think just because they're the most family members survive, probably. I don't know.
I think she probably had the most complete journal or records. I think
that makes sense.
probably is the reason.
I almost kind of wish he's. This is like we're going into thoughts of the
Yeah.
book now, but I guess that's a good transition. So we'll do thoughts and scores now. But I almost wish he kind of did it in like journal format, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
I
probably
don't
would
know
have
if that
been.
would have been possible.
Yeah, it depends on what's available.
A lot easier to follow along with a coherent like point of view.
Yeah.
I feel like.
All right, I'll go first. My book. My book. That's how we do this. Why is everyone like
That was just so blunt.
I like a man that takes charge. Go ahead.
Okay. This is how we do this. All right. I think we addressed what's good about this book and what's bad. The Indifferent Stars Above. I think indifferent is my thoughts towards the book.
You stole my line.
Same.
It's I said this line in my head. By no means is it bad, and by no means like I would recommend it to anyone.
You looked up at the stars above.
I'm being symbolic. It just it left very little of an impression on me. It's well researched. I will give books credit, and I've been consistent on I don't think this book overstayed its welcome, which I give credits for when books do not overstay their welcome. I think like clearly the wrap up parts of this book were not that interesting, and the author got through it in 25 pages or so. So I appreciate when authors do that because otherwise, like, you get the escape artist where it's 70 pages and I want to blow my brains out. So, um, just 25 pages and I want to blow my brains out is more preferable. So that I like. I think he tells the story, doesn't linger too long. I think the facts he puts in here, the research he puts into, is very interesting. He's clearly someone that doesn't take on a project and like well he takes on a project and he goes like so into detail, which then turns into a detriment a little bit is that he sometimes loses focus of the reader's point of view, if that makes sense. So if you were to looking for someone to be historian of this matter, he would be the perfect person to ask to. But whenever you're reading his book, it's sometimes like I don't need that many details, but I don't think he overstays his welcome. So I'll give him credit. This is the most neutral I've felt towards a book that we've read. It's a good book. It's written well. It doesn't overstay its welcome, but it doesn't leave any lasting impression on me. There's a book in my head. I don't know what score I'm going to give it, but I'm giving it the exact same score whatever I gave Prisoners of the Castle.
Okay, Prisoners of the Castle.
7-1.
A 7.
Okay.
Oh yeah, 7-1.
Okay, I'm giving it a 7-1.
Okay.
Can I go
Guess I-
next?
Yeah, Tyler. I mean, Christian, you can go next.
I'm gonna open up the scale a little bit with this one. I thought that this book felt like a 288-page research paper, where Daniel James was trying to meet word requirements set by his AP literature or whatever Kevin called it teacher. Um, it was I also think it was frightfully average. Can't relate to the characters. I like I started to get worried for myself as we read because I felt no like I didn't feel anything at all. I had PTSD symptoms, completely indifferent to the character's plight. That kind of sounds terrible when I say it out loud, but um yeah, it's just that book that I could put down. A book that if we did not have the 20 pages book club, it would stare at me from my bedside table.
It would literally
Um,
eat you from the inside.
it would stare at me until I finally decided to retire it, um, and maybe not pick it up again. But that's why we have the book club, and I'm able to read topics like this. And I guess the good takeaway is Daniel James Brown. I'll end with some positivity. I think that he is a very tenacious author. You can tell he does his research, and he's proud of the story that he's telling. And he did as good a job, better than obviously I could ever do, of telling a story all the way back in the that is based all the way back in the late 1800s. So, with that, uh, is my okay. Um, I'm gonna give it a 4.5. Now, granted, that's my low score. I have been widening my scale a little bit, so I'm not absolutely on the book. I am trying to keep it more honest to the 20 pages scoring system, which would put it between below average and mid, which I think is what this book is to me.
Yeah, I can go next. I think I uh, have the same thoughts that Tyler and Christian both alluded to. Starting off with the pros, like it's really well researched. Like he said, I think good point by Christian that Daniel James Brown is he cares about what he's writing about. I think that's clear. His other book, The Boys in the Boat, is supposed to be great as well. So I'm sure that he's a great author. And like Christian said, I could definitely not write something like this. If you gave me enough time in the world to come up with something like this, I would never come close to anything like a research paper like this. So kudos to him. The research is there. It doesn't always work for me, but I think for some it might hit. Um, so those are some of the pros. I think, like I said, very well researched. It's definitely an interesting story. At least at the start, it got me kind of hooked. Uh, but yeah, that was kind of all the pros for me. On the con side, I think we mentioned it. Too many characters. It was just impossible to keep track of everything. It was kind of like found myself going back and forth. I thought the lack of a map was also kind of confusing. Made things very hard to understand locations where people were situated on the lake. Like it was just hard for me to visualize everything. Like I'm very visual learner. When I start to think of things and read things through, I like looking through maps and pictures to help me understand things. So lack of a map really kind of hindered my understanding of the book. Um, I think, like we talked about during our summaries, the chapter summaries, some of the interjections kind of got stale as the book wore on. I think my thoughts in the first two meetings were that it wasn't too bad, but the more it went on, I was kind of got sick of reading them all, and the chapters just kind of dragged on. So I think that kind of hindered as I read through. and yeah, I just think that this book was very average as well. Like, and that's maybe just my personal viewpoint on it. I definitely think will be a book that some people will be interested in. Maybe wasn't just as interested in to me just because I never really was able to connect with it. I had hard times reading through some chapters. Like I'd put it down, an hour would go by. I'd be on my phone and be like, "Oh yeah, I still need to finish this chapter." So, um, in terms of a score, uh, I think I'm also gonna it's the lowest score I'm gonna give thus far. I'm gonna give it a 6 flat. I definitely think it's well told. I mean, it's well researched and kind of put together. It just didn't really hit with me, and that's not anything against Daniel James Brown. It's just kind of my thoughts. So yeah,
All right, and I'll round it out. I'm basically in the same boat as I think Jared echoed a lot of the things I was actually going to say. I think from a high level perspective, I think this is a really interesting story. Like in the grand scheme of things, I think it's something that I would be interested to learn about. However, I don't know necessarily if Daniel James Brown did it that much justice. This is something I'd watch like a cool like 15, 20-minute YouTube video on, and like I wouldn't need all of the finite details that Daniel James Brown provided. Not that any of those like he did a really good job researching and collecting all these journals and putting together this book. However, I don't it was hard to connect with the actual story and follow like the he wrote it in chronological order and I still had myself like kind of struggling with the timeline of what was happening and what characters were in what location and all of that. However, the overarching story I thought was a pretty cool story to read about. So it's not done yet, Raj. Um, yeah. Besides that, it was just echoing a lot of the things you guys said. Like hard to attach to the characters, grow an emotional attachment to them. Like Christian said, found myself not even like I was a little shook like the first time reading about the cannibalism, but after Tyler had told us it was gonna be there, it was almost it was almost like it didn't even phase me that much, which I guess is also saying that is pretty rough, like Christian said.
we were desensitized to it because there was just so much of it.
Yeah, and then it just turned into like a constant that was like what what Daniel James Brown was harping on a lot, and the ending was a little slow for me as well. So for me, I'm gonna give it, I think, a 5.8. I thought it was pretty mid. I think like again, I think the overarching story is like it's really cool, and I'm like glad I read about it because it's something that it's like 1453, although I thought 1453 was a little better written. But it's something cool, like you gain this knowledge, and now if I'm ever traveling through what is
What's
it
the
called?
high of it?
Donner,
I see it.
Nevada Mountains.
do they call it Donner area? Like what do you call it? Donner Pass. If I'm ever traveling through there, I could be like, let me tell you about the people here.
Don't stop for food at Donner Pass.
Yeah, the only thing they sell is human burgers.
I'm
Uh,
actually going to change my score to a 5.9. Now that I think about more about it, so I will be. I think
Kevin, that was the best way to put it, that you would watch a 15-minute YouTube video on this. It made me think of I don't know if anyone ever watched the show A Thousand Ways to Die. I think it was on like Discovery
yeah,
Channel.
I used to watch that.
It made me think of that TV show. Like it'd be a cool little like video documentary,
Yeah,
like a short one episode type thing.
this is something that would be playing on the History Channel at my grandparents' house. Is when I'd come over on like a random
Yeah, oh
Sunday,
for sure. For sure.
I
or
feel
like
like this is
The Smithsonian Channel will have this on, and I'd be like, "Oh, interesting."
I feel like this is such a hard topic to write about too, because like it's yeah, like I don't know how you really portray cannibalism in like I don't know if there's ever a way for Daniel James Brown to really like win necessarily with what I was looking for, at least with the story part. So, but yeah, overall high level, that was a
It's
cool little story.
our first truly mid book.
Yeah, I don't like Christian said though. I don't think that's anything like negative in the grand scheme of this. I think this book still got good reviews on Goodreads. Like, if you're someone that's interested in the movement out west,
It's almost like human psyche mixed with like
Yeah, I
moving out like old times human psyche mixed with like a little
manifest destiny.
like sports, not sports, but like human body science.
Yeah,
Like it's a weird like mix of a ton of different things. So
this is like a book that I will never read again, but I'm like Kevin said, I'm glad I at least read it. So
All right. That was the thoughts on the Indifferent Stars Above. It is our worst rated book in the 20 pages book club. So far. So down on the bottom, Lance. You know,
If Kevin has anything to say about it, it will not be the worst for long.
well,
Kevin,
no, the wager's next. Kevin's book is the wager next, which has high hopes.
Yeah, we at least have two more
we,
books.
we voted out his other so I guess
I'll be back.
0 for 1 on this year for me, but also 0 for 1 on this group in the voting process.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you were right with the marketing thing. Like the back of the book, like it sounds like a really cool overall story. Like it's marketed like
to read Seabiscuit, goddammit.
I thought it
I
was gonna be like
I voted for the Teddy Roosevelt one first. Just have it be known.
I think the two guys on my left
I
voted
think I-
this one first.
hey, that's why we read. That's
I
why we
can't
the
read.
books.
I cannot. I can't read about horse like the movie War Horse. Like it's just boring as. I don't know why.
I will though. This is actually I Jared brought up the Goodreads. I did not know the Goodreads. The Goodreads is like one of the highest Goodreads books we've ever read. It's got a 4.3
Like,
on
what are the
Goodreads.
what are the reviews though? Like, that's what
Yeah.
I'm confused about. Like, can you read a couple of reviews? I'm not just curious. Like,
We do market ourselves as motor morons, so that probably should be noted.
no, I know we're idiots, and that's part of it. But like,
I'm sure there's like
I don't like this. This book was not like. Yeah, there were intricacies in like the way that there were a number of characters, and like there were a couple different things going on. But I don't think it was that hard of a book to like comprehend. I don't think.
You want me to read one of the 5-star reviews?
yeah,
Yeah.
All right. I found out about this book through the last podcast on the left, which did a phenomenal 3-part episode series on the Donner Party and used this book as the primary source for their information. I was so fascinated and intrigued by the story, which I'd only ever hear about in vague details, that I decided to read the book for myself. Pretty much all I knew about the Donner Party until this book, pretty much all I knew about the Donner Party until this book was that the group of pioneers once got trapped in the mountains in a snowstorm, ended up resorting to cannibalism to stay alive. Obviously, the real story is so much more complicated and
it's
harrowing
a lot.
than that. And if nothing else, the book will ensure that after you read it, you will absolutely this person is. You will be absolutely impossible to have a conversation with anyone that doesn't eventually end up in you saying, "So you want to hear a cool story?" My friends and coworkers know so much more about cannibalism than they ever wanted to know, thanks to this book and my hyper fixation on the story while I was reading it. There was so much I didn't know. I didn't know, for example, okay, we'll just
she eats humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
She likes
She
she
is.
likes she likes heart with a side of ranch. That's what.
She liked this book too much.
Daniel James Brown might like be in that same category.
Well, okay, so would you read the boys in the if you guys would you read Boys in the Boat then?
Yes.
I'd give him a
I
second
mean, yeah,
chance.
I give it a shot.
Okay.
Like I said, this is not a reflection on him. It's just like
Well,
as a. Well, I mean, it is. But like,
it's an he wrote it.
it's just the story itself wasn't that interesting to us as a group. Doesn't mean that the boys in the group. I mean, we're World War II guys. We know that. Like,
But I
I
guess
think
you've
Daniel
been
James Brown.
like part of the critiques that have been is that his writing style doesn't always put the reader in the scope. So I don't know if that'd be true of all of his books, you know?
I have a feeling the boys in the boat has less characters. It's easier to connect with them, and I think that was one of our main gripes is that we couldn't connect with anyone. So like we didn't care about the people as much when we should have.
I
So
will say
He, like,
go ahead.
he like relentlessly studied a topic where and a story where there's like not a whole lot of information available. So I think you give him something that is more recent and that has I don't know, a greater cache of information, and he's gonna run with it and do something good with it. Is my thought.
Yeah. Uh, looking through the other 5-star reviews, a lot of it is appreciative of his research, so I think a lot of people value that. So I'm seeing a lot of reviews of the amount of research that was put into this is insane, So
Yeah. I feel like we rate these books based on just like pure enjoyment factor. Like when I read a book, I'm thinking, was I gonna pick this up and just finish all the reading in one sitting? Or was I like,
That's why we're more morons. That's the only
yeah.
thing we care about. So
the
We
one
all- we all-
one War's 1-star review is just the author unfortunately seems to not consider indigenous people human beings. The racism isn't at all subtle, and it is grating.
so
Canceled. He's
Yeah.
now officially canceled.
All right, James Brown's canceled.
The person didn't even read the book.
And one of the 1-star reviews says test review. uh, some people do criticize what we.
I mean, to be fair, like our final score is like a 3 out of 5, so it's not terrible if you're looking on that scale.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think we all have. We don't need to beat the nail. It's definitely not something that was enjoyed. So,
Need to beat a dead human.
we eat a dead human. All right, so we move on to the wager. The wager, of course, will be our next meeting when we reconvene. I think a book we're all excited for is our top author from last year. We kind of bullied Kevin into the book, so
No comment.
I think this is one that all of us are almost all pre-excited for. Is that fair?
It goes to the
No.
Flower Moon.
Yeah,
The big thing I'm looking for here is how it compares to the Endurance in terms of a shipwreck story.
Yeah.
Like a ship story. Because we've already kind of have one.
Yeah, this is pretty similar like style to Killers of the Flower Moon. Like it's like a history slash I think it's true crime, no? Like it has some sort of crime aspect to it. So I mean it might be pretty similar style to Killers of the Flower Moon, which is our highest rated book. So
Yeah. So we'll see if it stacks up. We need a book in the 9s. So,
first repeat author.
first repeat
Yep,
author.
first repeat author.
It is not surprising that he got that.
Tyler won't fail to mention that he is the 2023 author of the year.
And Barnes and Noble author of the year as well.
Ours is more important,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
definitely.
I don't
Stop
know.
mentioning that. Stop mentioning that company.
All right.
No free ads.
All right. With that, when we reconvene, we will be doing the snake draft after a long journey. We'll see you there. All right, welcome back to the fun part of the episode. Obviously, we didn't like the book that much, so we kind of had some rough moments in there. But so now we transition to the snake draft. We have 4 categories that we're going to pick from. The first category is a character to survive with. That has to be book specific. Second is the worst place to be stranded. That does not have to be book specific. Third is the most useful travel tool. All we said for this for parameters is it can't be like electronics, like a GPS or a phone, that type of thing, or like a laser. And the last category is a sauce and seasoning for eating human flesh. So you have to pick a sauce or
Disclaimer. This is totally fictional.
disclaimer. It's because the book was talking about cannibalism. So if we had to eat it in a desperate situation, what would we eat it with? Anyways, we are now gonna pick our order. So I have 4 markers in my hand. I'm gonna pick a color. Jared has the combinations written down. So if you are,
Written down.
I lost the letter in there. You can laugh at that. Once I if
Oh, don't laugh at that.
no, I said you can laugh at that.
Okay, Fidel Castro.
If I draw a marker, Jared's going to tell me who that marker aligns to, and that person is going to pick their spot in the draft. All right, here we go. I'm going to pick it from my bag. All right, orange is who is orange?
Kevin.
All right, Kevin, where do you want to pick in the draft? Someone's got to write this down in the sheet too.
I'm just gonna get my person out the way, so I'm gonna go 1.
Okay,
Games.
1. All right. All right. Next color is green.
That's
Christian.
me. 2.
How'd you know that was you?
Just did.
Whoa, what's going on here?
It's collusion.
Yellow is the last color.
Me.
Oh, wow.
Jared had nothing written down.
Proof.
All right.
Funny how this goes, huh? All right.
I'll go 3.
Ah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
We didn't even have to pick our order.
Yeah, we could just let the markers go.
Like we didn't
Tyler,
even have a
it's always
choice.
the markers.
All right.
All right. Time to kick it off, and I guess I'll do the honors of kicking it off. For me, I can get crazy creative with the 3 of these categories. Cannot get crazy creative with one of them, although there are 76 something characters to choose from, or 86 or whatever it was. Not gonna lie, this could be a really bad 1-1 pick.
Kevin always starts off his draft with like a disclaimer that this could be a terrible pick.
Like this one could actually be really bad. I don't really remember if he. All right, whatever. I'm just gonna say it and then live with it. Give me James Reed.
He was on my big board.
Time out. He did
Killed
kill
somebody.
somebody.
Yeah, but I'm trying to survive with him. I gotta have somebody that's a
Don't cross him.
cold-blooded killer.
All right.
Yeah.
So to Kevin's point, if he's on your side, he came back even after all of this.
Yeah.
So he
And
is,
he
don't
can
hate
kill
it.
he
somebody.
does care. It's not a terrible pick, but the downside of this pick,
Military.
downside of this pick is he did actually kill someone in the group. He's the only one that outright we know killed someone.
Probably had a good reason. At least he's on my side.
So short temper, but
Him and I are close, so don't worry about that. We love sharing. Did he even eat human flesh, or did he just?
I think he was
Oh,
out
no,
of
he didn't.
No, because
Yeah, he
they
is.
banished him and he was like just got ahead of the whole snowstorm and it was like perfectly fine.
and then he
Yeah, I
went
can't wait to
served
hear.
in the army.
Can't wait to. Yeah, my guy served for the country. Didn't resort to
Thank you for his service.
He also did say that if he were still with the party, none of this would have happened. So
Yep.
maybe that's true.
That's a classic
Glad he's
line
on
from
my
the guy that wasn't there.
Yeah. Also, I wanted on the record if I was there, it wouldn't have happened to the party as well. So, Christian, you can go with for your first pick.
All right. I'm gonna go with sauce / seasoning for
Oh.
flesh. I just
More
I think
flesh.
you go with the most basic. It's been used for actually I don't really know how long it's been used for, maybe centuries. I'm not sure when we first discovered this, but it's gonna be salt. Salt can make anything better. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know the flavor profile of human flesh. So like I think maybe it's like
Like a jerky.
I don't know if it's is it red meat or white meat? Like either way, you put salt and pepper on either of those. So I don't, like I don't know if it's red meat or white meat. You're not gonna put lemon pepper on a steak on accident. Like I think salt is just your most versatile, your biggest potential not to.
This was my 1-1 for seasoning. I'll help you out here too. So an added benefit is that we need
Preservative.
salt
no.
and so I mean
You're going Daniel James Brown on us.
you need salt and sodium to help distribute the water to keep you hydrated. So if you and we
Yes.
get that like as Americans with our food, but they didn't get that, so they needed that to help the transfer of water to stay hydrated and not malnourished. So it's a pretty solid.
I guess my only counterpoint would be, wouldn't you want something that really covers up the taste of it though? So you couldn't even tell what you're tasting?
Can.
You can with salt.
People
True.
think
Yes,
that
yes.
salt is like it's not like a bland
I like the pick, okay?
used. It's not like okay, thanks.
I'm just I'm just picking through the draft, okay?
Very solid. All right, Jared.
Question. For most useful travel tool, is that supposed to be most useful survival tool? Or is it
Like food, tool, item.
I'm gonna go gun.
I said no food or water because those would be the obvious picks.
All right, I'm gonna go with a gun. This is pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
Self-defense. You can use it for hunting. Very versatile. When you have a gun, you have power, as you saw in a group setting.
Gun equals power. I like it.
The question is,
You command it if you need it. I think it's an easy one of the category. There's some others that could be maybe argued, but I think it's pretty clear in this category. So
elephant in the room. You drafted the gun. Do you get the bullets?
we're gonna assume that it at least has the road style. At least I have 3 bullets in the chamber.
At least you could say maybe they don't know if you have bullets, but someone's got to take that gamble.
Yeah,
Gun is
either way.
power, either way.
Yeah, it's the number one thing for survival.
It's the ultimate equalizer.
Shoot a buck if you need to. Shoot a bear.
All right. Shit. I didn't think at all what I was gonna pick here because I'm gonna pick a tool as well. I am going to take a fire starter.
It's on my list.
You can't make food without fire. You can't stay warm without fire. If anyone's tried to create a fire with just things you can find in the woods, it's tough. So something that can cook your food easily and start your fire for the night wherever, because wherever you're staying, even if you're in a desert or in the mountains, you need a fire. So you need something to cook your food with. So I'm gonna take fire starter with my pick one.
Hard to
I
argue.
mean, some would argue if you had the
That's mine.
actual skills to start a fire that you wouldn't need this and you just waste
The rocks.
Beta pick.
Beta, not an alpha man. Got it. All right, I can take that.
That's my only objection. That's not to say that I know how to start a fire. I actually don't. So
I don't know what category to pick next with.
You could figure it out, Christian. If you were there.
yeah, probably in the moment.
I'll take
Tutorial.
I'll take character to survive with.
Yeah.
I'll take William Eddy.
So I don't even remember who he is.
After Franklin Graves dies, William Eddy takes control of the group. He's also the only one from the original escape party that tries to come back, so he has the strength to attempt to try to carry on. So he kind of just becomes the leader after Franklin Graves dies, and he doesn't die, which makes him better than Franklin Graves. That's my thought process there.
He sounds like he'd be just like a husky, like reliable man, like just a rough and
Blue collar. You know what you're gonna get.
old fashioned
Lunch pail type guy.
Exactly.
Union worker maybe if you live now.
I like it. I like it. Keep hyping up my
You
pick.
can trust them.
All right, Jared.
All right, I'm gonna go worst place to be stranded. I think this one's pretty easy. Desert. If you get stranded in the desert, you're a dunzo. There's a couple reasons why. The most important thing when you're stranded trying to survive is you need water. There's no water in the desert. You also need food. There's also very little life forms in the desert. There's also huge extreme changes in temperature between night and day. So you're going from the hypothermic to hypothermia to hypo to hyperthermia, and the day gets very hot. At cold, it's freezing. It's also hard to navigate because everything looks the same. If you don't have a compass, you're pretty screwed. So,
Well, what if it's an Arctic desert?
what'd you say?
What if it's an Arctic desert?
I guess it could be an Arctic desert. That would still suck.
All right, Christian, just say it.
All right, so I'm gonna take most useful travel tool, and with this pick, I'm also going to choose salt. It's a preservative. I can make a fuck ton of beef jerky.
I thought you were gonna say compass.
I have no idea where that was
I
going.
can make
All right.
I can make fuck ton of beef jerky. Food would not be a problem whatsoever during my journey. And as Kevin said before,
Worst place to be stranded. Salt cave.
stop. Give it away.
Character survived
Uh,
with Salt
you need-
Jones.
Salt flats.
All right, just move on. Kevin, pick Compass.
I don't even know what to think of that pick. It's just like,
There was a way I saw my board in my mind, and I'm sticking to
okay,
it
got it.
for fun.
All right. Well, now I don't need to draft most useful travel tool until 4th round. So with my next pick,
Good
I
ball
will
knowledge.
choose. Yep, thinking hard over here on this side of the court. Worst place to be stranded. I want to say something out of pocket, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna choose the setting of the story. Uh, high elevation, high elevation mountain range. Uh, Not only is it tough with the snow, but even if you are like even if it is the summer and there's not a ton of snow, there's gonna be snow if you're up that high. But the elevation and the breathing issues it'll cause you, the strain on your body. I felt it a month or two ago when I was in Steamboat. My body was in strenuous pain after just exercising for a day. That on top of you're stranded, no, I'm guessing you're stranded with no sense of direction, very hard to navigate when there's things above your head that you can't see past and you don't know which way to go. Like in the story, we saw them get to a certain point in the past, and if they would have climbed and scaled the mountain, they would have seen where they were trying to head. But you couldn't see that far because there was a mountain blocking your view, and they didn't know, and ended up being detrimental. So no rebuttal. Love it.
I guess if I'm picking a hole, I guess I would say that they could have made it through the mountains if it was summer. So it's not a terrible place to be in the summer.
Well, you don't know that.
Not better than
I guess you do because I guess people before have. People have before,
it's
but
not. It's not better than no mountains.
True. I
Think
agree.
about that.
yeah. And I'm talking when I'm talking mountain, I'm talking like Everest. Like there's never not gonna be snow. I'm talking like
Okay.
12K.
It does provide you with water.
K2.
Yeah, but what about the food?
Oh.
Where are you getting the food from?
No, I'm not. I'm not saying. I'm just saying it's
We're
not
poking
like a
holes.
desert.
Just poking holes.
Yeah,
It's provide water.
Don't poke. We're poking
Uh,
holes.
oh shit. So I have to choose a sauce/seasoning here. I really thought nobody was gonna choose salt, so I was gonna take that in the 4th round, and then Christian drafted it 2nd overall. I didn't even have anything else on my board.
I mean, Tyler
Love it.
gave you his pick for it.
Um, I'm going to go with
Just picking my favorite sauce.
I'm just gonna go with plain old barbecue sauce.
Barbecue sauce. Yeah. Okay. I mean,
You could put so much of it on there that you wouldn't taste it. A lot of pepper in there.
it's a strong taste. So that helps. I think like the barbecue sauce is gonna overwhelm whatever you're eating it with. So
Also, there's just a chance that I end up not eating the flesh and I just squirt the whole thing up in my mouth instead of eating the flesh. So
Good point.
what?
got
I don't
calories.
know if that's gonna.
Christian salt has
Yeah.
Christian salt has no calories to it. I'm getting a little added caloric
You
benefit.
get some sugar in there too.
Someone's
Yep.
tapping their desk. Okay. Sorry,
All right,
viewers were furious.
Christian.
I'm
Our
gonna
tool-
stick to the strategy, and I'm gonna take worst place to be stranded, and I'm gonna do salt flats. Because I already have an abundance of salt. Number one. Number two, it's the only place I could think of top of mind because it was in this story besides mountains, and there's not a lot of things to forage for in the salt flat. Really no wildlife whatsoever. Nothing to eat, no water. And you also go blind.
delirious.
I think it's actually a very underrated pick there. Because you're right, the water you can't drink. It's too alkaline.
Delirious.
No life forms. So good pick.
Too bad I was thinking 3-dimensional and thought of that when I saw like Christian's draft strategy seemed to be. Could have screwed his draft.
You could have ruined them. Okay, then I guess that leaves me. I think my sauce will be in the last round, so I'm not going to pick it yet. So that leaves me with character
How
surrender.
do you know?
I'm almost guaranteed. I have a backup if you just happen to take mine. I'm going to go Franklin Graves. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. He was the leader. He's willing to do whatever it takes, even sacrifice himself. He's like, you guys can eat me if it comes down to it. I think having someone that's being that honest is good with you. He's a grinder. He's got grit. Yeah, good dude.
I just can't wait to see what Christian says now because he's looking through the book for characters.
Control F.
I found
Oh,
one.
Gotcha.
If he does, that's what I think he's gonna do. I'm gonna lose it.
all right, Tyler.
All right. Worst places to be stranded to. I will, since this category is picked through. I had some honorable mentions. I wrote Centennial Island. Anyone familiar with that? That's honorable mention. It's where it's like uninhabited humans live. That makes no sense. I realize it. I wrote also honorable mention at the grocery store without your mom.
That was a funny bit.
All
All
right.
supposed to be stranded with at Lake Geneva with no anchor. So
My my actual
Nick
pick.
Gurka after a day on the boat.
the car back from Lake.
I may pick that.
Actually, on the way back from Tennessee on an 8-hour drive with Nurse losing United Airlines options.
Anywhere with Nick Skirk.
Yeah.
All right. Worst places to be stranded. I'm gonna take the middle of the ocean. You got water all around you, but you can drink none of it.
But you can.
Oh, okay.
But you can drink something.
Interesting.
Why can't you drink any of it, Christian? Nail it.
It has salt in it.
Oh my god, you did.
Yep. But you can drink it though. It's just not good for you. You can drink it.
You'll just
Yeah.
dehydrate faster.
Yeah.
But I mean, like those people like the Unbroken and some of those other stories that they drank it. I feel like, and they kept them alive. If that makes
I don't
sense.
think they did.
I think it just makes you die faster, doesn't it?
I'm pretty sure in Unbroken
Yeah.
they didn't drink it
All right.
What?
because they were tempted to drink it and then they didn't.
If you're overhydrated, salt water would be great for performance, but
Yeah.
otherwise you're just you're fucking.
Also, what other people have mentioned their picks, it will also make you delirious if you have no cover. I mean, unless you're on like a cruise boat,
Son.
the sun is just gonna berate you. You're gonna have constant motion, so you're not gonna be able to sleep. I mean, I guess I'm kind of thinking of a life raft, but
It's a
Go
good
ahead.
pick.
I know this is a really good pick. I was just only thinking about the book.
I was thinking of Life of Pi.
That's what I was thinking
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I get my free
Also,
choice.
it-
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's also daunting. Like I'm kind of scared of the ocean. Like there's
Yeah.
you go in. If you lose the only thing holding you up, you're fucked.
And you have no sense of direction once you get like out there.
Yeah. I don't think
And
any.
some Somali pirates. could
But I
probably
think you do have food though.
bandits.
You do have food if you can catch it.
Yeah,
I ain't catching it.
this is one of those picks. Like, if you have some resources, you could probably. But that's true of any place. I mean, if you have
Is it?
resources, you can help yourself. But I guess I was kind of
Cactus.
dwindling resources. So I got free choice of a sauce. I guess I'll just pick Chick-fil-A sauce. I like Chick-fil-A sauce. There's no reasoning to it.
It's a good pick.
I think it tastes good.
You kind of took my pick. I'm gonna go cane sauce.
Okay.
I could bathe in it. I think it would make the taste so much better if I had to. I
didn't-
prefer cane sauce over Chick-fil-A sauce. So that's why I picked it. Ranch is also an honorable mention that I was thinking of.
I like buffalo sauce.
argue Brazel's pick. What if what if necessity arises to where you have to eat a human body on a Sunday?
Yeah.
Mm,
That's
You're-
tough, and I
good
can't get
point.
into a Chick-fil-A. That'd be tough.
It's on the holy day. You should be doing it anyways.
It's tough. Guess I'm gonna have to starve on Sunday.
Yeah, good
You could
point.
use some salt. Use some salt to preserve it till Monday.
Cane's open on Sundays.
And any other sauces you guys could think of? Ketchup, awesome.
Ranch, lemon pepper.
Blue cheese.
Ketchup sounds nasty.
Yeah.
Like that sounds gross.
Looks like blood.
I don't know why. Yeah.
All right, Christian, go ahead and pick. I don't think there's much controversy with sauce picks.
Yeah. I don't think this pick matters for me either. So I'm gonna take Louis Kesselberg.
What?
As
I mean, that's just got to be on the pages for worst picks. I mean, it's just what.
survive with.
He did survive.
Because he did survive, and
He will eat
he
you.
was honestly good at surviving. He can make all the tough decisions. I can just kind of sit back and let him kill people and reap the rewards of having a partner in crime as notorious as Louis Kesselberg, who Tyler keeps deciding to spell as Kessenberg. It might be Kessenberg. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's Kesselberg.
I copied.
Honorable mention. Honorable mention Charlie Berger. I don't know who it is, but he sounds like an appetizing human being. It came down to
I
it.
thought you were gonna Christian. I thought you were gonna pick the Luke Halloran, the kid with tuberculosis.
That would have been an amazing pick.
I might have voted for you just on that.
I wrote my only other honorable
Yeah.
mention for that category was Jim Kleiman, who was the guy in Western Nebraska that came and told them that Hastings route was not shit. But
See, I didn't even remember him because there was too many characters.
that's
All right. And I guess I have the last pick. Have to choose most useful travel tool here. I'm gonna choose an airplane.
no. We said
Yeah.
no electronics.
I know. I'm gonna go with a compass here. I
That's
feel like
That's
I
easy.
have to take it. Also, I would get so lost if I just like walked. If I was aimlessly walking in the woods for like an hour, and you could tell me I was walking straight the whole time, but then like when you're ducking and dodging like branches and stuff, and you try to walk your path backwards, I would get so turned around and lost. So
You know what, Tyler? You should have picked compass because you'd be screwed with that one.
Yeah.
Knowing your sense of direction.
That's true. I also had honorable mention
Leave
an
you'd
accurate
leave
map.
California and end up in New York.
Yeah, I wrote an accurate map. That
Yeah.
would be my other pick for that category. All right, let me recap these and then we can vote because we're at 2 hours and 10 minutes of this.
It's more like 2 hours and 20 minutes of actual time, but yeah.
All right. Kevin selected James Reed as his character survive with. Worst place to be stranded at the mountain. He would put barbecue sauce on flesh, and he would use a compass to help him. Christian picks salt as what he would eat flesh with. He also picks salt as his travel tool, and he picks salt flats for the worst place to be stranded, and he would survive with Louis Kessenberg. Jared picked a gun as his most useful tool. He wouldn't want to be stranded in the desert. His favorite character to survive with was Franklin Graves, and his seasoning or sauce was Kate sauce. And finally, me, my most useful tool as a fire starter. My character to survive with was William Eddy. Worst place to be stranded in the middle of the ocean, and my sauce was Chick-fil-A sauce. So, we have a table down here. So just write in your I'm having a tough time here.
What, speaking or choosing?
Choosing.
I'm speaking.
I didn't know. He like paused in the middle of the sentence. I didn't know if he was thinking about that or.
My 1 and 2 are very tough.
You're very tough.
I'm between two people, so I'm just gonna fire it.
Me and me.
Christian, un numero.
Yeah.
Everyone ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. Reveal now. All right, I got 7. Kevin got 7, and Jared got 7.
No. Tyler, you won.
Wait, where do I?
Wait,
Oh,
no,
I
you
got.
He
I
goes-
was
Oh, you
right.
got 5.
I nailed it. Christian
Yeah.
got 3.
We all got 5.
Uh, okay, so it's a 3-way tie for the win. All right,
that's actually hilarious.
all right. Good job,
Yeah,
guys.
loser.
Hey, Christian, loser. I hope you know that.
I'm the winner because I'm the only outlier here.
Hey man, don't be a
I'm the
sheep.
only special one.
I don't even know what to write in this. Did I win the meme competition
the
for this? I did not win the meme. Who won the meme competition? Was that me?
I don't know. The memes were
So bad that they would.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
mine
yeah,
was
I
bad
think
enough.
you-
I won. Yeah, okay, got it. I'm gonna take that. So I'm back in the league.
You are gonna.
the small things, small wins.
All right, so Tyler won. Jared won. I don't even know this is gonna break the formula.
Not the formula.
So yeah, we're just gonna have to extend the formula out to Jay. Okay.
But don't. We need to do it for 2024 only, though, don't we?
I have no idea what's going on.
The count if formula. It's
Oh no. So well, as Tyler fixes our formula, I'm gonna close this out because this is taking too long. Yeah. So next meeting, starting the wager. David Gran, as Tyler will say, he was our author of the year last year. So looking forward to seeing us go through that book. Yeah. Thank you for listening. This was a delirious episode, to say the least. But yeah, March Madness is upon us, and that was a 20 Pages Book Club episode. We'll see you guys next week.